I've never been a paranoid person. I'm not someone who jumps to conclusions or assumes the worst. But what happened to me last year completely changed how I think about safety. This is a real story. No exaggeration, no supernatural elements, just something that could happen to anyone. At the time, I was working 2 jobs and barely sleeping. I lived in a quiet suburban area, the kind of place where nothing ever seems to happen. I parked my car on the street right in front of my house every night. I'd been doing that for years without any issues. One morning I got into my car and noticed something small but strange. The passenger seat was slightly reclined. At first I thought I'd done it myself. Maybe I adjusted it without realizing. I was tired all the time, so I brushed it off. A few days later, it happened again. Same thing. Passenger seat pushed back just a little more than usual. That's when I started paying attention. I checked my doors. They were locked, no broken windows, no signs of forced entry. Nothing seemed missing. So again, I convinced myself it was nothing, until I started noticing other things. A fast food cup in the cup holder that I didn't recognize. The smell inside the car. Not mine. A jacket in the back seat that definitely wasn't mine. I stood there staring at it, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. That's when the fear really started. I checked my trunk. Empty. Then I checked under the seats. Nothing. But someone had clearly been inside my car. I started locking my doors twice, then 3 times. I even began checking my car in the middle of the night. A week later, I woke up around 4 a.m. to a strange sound outside. A car door closing, slowly. I looked out my bedroom window, and I saw my car lights turn off. I froze. I stayed perfectly still, watching the street. Then I saw a man step out from behind my car. He was thin, wearing a hoodie, and walking away calmly, like he belonged there. I called the police immediately. They arrived within minutes and searched the area, but didn't find him. When they inspected my car, they found something that made my stomach drop. The passenger door wasn't being locked properly. It looked locked, but it wasn't. Someone had figured it out. The officer told me something I'll never forget. This happens more than you think. Some people don't steal the car. They use it. Apparently, the man had likely been sleeping in my car while I was at work or at night, living inside it, watching my routine. I couldn't stop thinking about how close he had been to my house, to me. I started parking in the garage, installed cameras, changed my schedule. But the worst part? About a month later, I found a note tucked under my windshield wiper. It only had 4 words written on it. I liked it here. I sold the car the next week. To this day, I always check my back seat before getting in.
I don't really know how to start this. I'm not a writer. I'm just telling this the way it happened to me. I'm a woman in my 20s, and at the time, I was living alone. Nothing unusual about that. I've been in that apartment for almost a year. The neighborhood was quiet, not dangerous, not the kind of place where you expect something bad to happen, and I always locked my door. I want to say that clearly. I always locked it. This started with small things that are easy to explain away. I come home from work and feel like something was different. Not wrong exactly, just off. At first, I thought I was imagining it. I was tired all the time. Work was stressful. Then I noticed objects weren't where I left them. Not moved in a messy way, not knocked over, just placed differently. My shoes would be lined up by the wall when I was sure I left them near the door. A chair slightly turned. A blanket folded when I knew I didn't fold it. That scared me more than if the place had been trashed. I started questioning myself. I wondered if I was sleepwalking or forgetting things. So I started taking pictures before leaving my apartment. Nothing fancy, just quick photos on my phone. When I compared them later, I realized I wasn't imagining it. Things were changing. Sometimes I cried because I honestly thought I was losing my mind. The worst part happened a few weeks later. I woke up in the middle of the night, I don't know what woke me up at first. Then I heard a sound. It was quiet, very quiet, like someone trying not to be heard. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. Then I heard footsteps. Slow footsteps. Heavy ones. They were coming from my hallway. I locked myself in my bedroom and called 911 with shaking hands. I whispered into the phone. By the time the police arrived, the apartment was empty, but my front door was unlocked. I know it was locked when I went to bed. I know that. Later, I found out the truth. A former tenant still had a copy of the key. He had been coming into my apartment while I was gone, and sometimes while I was home. Just sitting there, watching TV, sleeping on my couch. I moved out 2 days later. I didn't pack properly. I didn't say goodbye to the place. I just left. I still double-check my locks. I still feel uncomfortable living alone sometimes. And if you take anything from this story, let it be this. If something feels wrong, you're probably not imagining it.
I've thought about this story a lot before deciding to tell it. I'm not someone who usually shares personal things like this, but if it helps even one parent pay closer attention, then it's worth it. I'm a mom. I have a son. At the time this happened, he was 6 years old. We lived in a normal neighborhood, not dangerous, not the kind of place where you're constantly on edge. I honestly believed we were safe there, and I believed that nothing like this could ever happen to us. This started with small conversations, things my son would say casually. He told me that a man had been talking to him at the playground. He didn't sound scared when he said it, just confused. I didn't think much of it. I assumed it was another parent, or someone just being friendly. A few days later, he mentioned the man again. He said the man knew his name, and that he knew where we lived. I remember brushing it off. I told myself kids talk, kids imagine things. Looking back now, that thought makes me sick. Then my son told me the man had given him candy. I didn't panic. I didn't call anyone. Instead, I got upset with my son. I told him he shouldn't accept things from strangers. I told him to stop making things up, and then I moved on with my day. I didn't ask questions. I didn't watch more closely. I didn't warn anyone. And that was my mistake. A few days later, we were walking home from the store. It was the middle of the afternoon, bright outside, normal. My son was walking slightly ahead of me. I looked down at my phone for just a moment, just one moment. When I looked up, he wasn't right next to me anymore. I saw him a few steps ahead, and a man was holding his hand. They were walking together, calmly, like they knew each other. My son wasn't crying. He wasn't pulling away because to him, this wasn't a stranger. This was someone he had already seen before. I screamed! The man immediately let go of my son's hand. He didn't run. He didn't argue. He just walked away. Later, when I spoke to the police, they explained something to me. They said some people don't rush these things. They take their time. They come back more than once. They called it testing boundaries. That man had been watching us, learning our routine, gaining my son's trust. And I had ignored every warning sign. I haven't slept the same since that day. I believe my son now. Every word, every strange detail. And if there's one thing I want other parents to hear, it's this. If your child tells you something feels wrong, don't brush it off. Sometimes children notice danger long before adults are willing to believe it.